We met in the year 1964, actually, as collegiates on an Israel trip, following which we dated, married in '66, and then following the Newark riots of 1967, we chose West Orange. It was one of the very few suburban Orthodox communities that existed. In May of 1968, actually, we preceded my parents. They came 6 months later, and they had already purchased the building on Pleasant Valley Way, which was a Baptist church. And the building was a typical church building with gray clapboard, and it exists today. You don't see it, but it's the building that is parallel to Pleasant Valley Way, the closest one to Pleasant Valley Way. Well, there was a nucleus of the founders whose names are outside on the board. People like Mickey Weiss, Ira Kukin, Dave Hirsch, Charlie Smith, just to name a few. I should not omit the Kahns, the two Kahns. And the group that came from Newark actually included people like the Ravens, who was the then president when I came up here. People like Abe Friedman, who was the chairman of the board, Arnold Blum. And so it was a mixture of these younger people and these older people from Newark, and then the influx of us youngsters. That's when it started in '68. And at that point, we were bringing in roughly 10 new families each and every season, from one Rosh Hashanah to another, through the good auspices of Rabbi Marcus's reputation. People were beginning to look for suburban life. The original group that was here believed in Orthodoxy and wanted to affiliate with an Orthodox shul, even though many of the people were not necessarily fully Shomrei Shabbat or Shomrei Mitzvot. The merger of Newark, most of those people did not reside here. Raven, as president, as a matter of principle, showed up to be the president on the Bima every single Shabbos. But the attitude of each of the membership at that point in time was whoever walked in the doors of the building were greeted. People were accepted regardless of whatever degree on the spectrum they were. People walked over to one another's houses on a Shabbos afternoon. We met at Degnan Park. It was very social. The former church that we were using as a shul was really not appropriate. This building and the activities were growing. We did have a afternoon Hebrew school in those days. A study was undertaken, and we checked the population growth, many meetings to plan what type of facilities we needed, until we got to the point of hiring an architect, dealing with contractors. We did a financial study, and I commend Herb Blank for that, because at one of the meetings when the membership was asked to vote on the approval of the first expansion, from a financial point of view, we couldn't afford it. And Herb said point blank, you can't not afford it, you have to do it. The Essex County Ritualarium Synagogue. Synagogue was built into it so that it wouldn't be questioned as to tax-exempt status when people made donations. The schlep to Newark was a little much, and it was well after the riots, and being in Newark, particularly at night, was not generally considered safe. Local people, Dr. Gold, Eli Gold, was one of the prime movers to relocate the mikveh from the city of Newark to this area, that it should appear as a house, which served a twofold purpose. One was to house the mikveh attendant on site. The other was, of course, to have the borot and the various mikvot for bathing. Those of us that were involved in the process decided to bring in Bruce Schulzen, who already was establishing a reputation as helping charitable and religious organizations. A second application was filed. Bruce brought in some expert witnesses from YU who spoke beautifully at the night of the hearing, and then the mikveh was approved. The governance of the shul has had some ups and downs over the course of our residents here nearly 50 years. Those that made the merger, Abe Friedman, Morris Raven, they were very, very strong individuals, outspoken. When you came to a board of directors meeting, there was shouting. Yet, when a matter was brought to a vote and the decision was made, the kahal, the entire congregation, got behind the decision, regardless of where they were on the fence before or after the debate. In the beginning, 20 or 30 years was, if you had the money and you could donate, people donated. If you didn't have the money, you donated of your time. We've had overflowing of the bathrooms, and it was not beneath the Rabbi Marcus at the time, to take a mop and clean up. Everybody looks after one another when there's times of trouble, when there's a death in the family. And I'll use CSS as an example. A congregation of this size, we should not be forced to take a shift once a month. It should really come up once every 2 or 3 months. In the early days, we developed through Dr. Gold again, who's sitting here watching this interview. We had a rotation list to make the minyan. Baruch Hashem, we grew well beyond that stage that we're running multiple minyanim, both morning and night. This is how we started. In those days, we filled out a questionnaire with your own background as part of your membership application. Rabbi Marcus saw that in my collegiate days, I served on the commentator at Yeshiva University. We had a monthly publication called The Chronicle, and I ran that for, I'm going to say, 7 or 8 years, but it kept everybody informed, kept everybody involved. When the nursery school got started up, I was on the nursery school committee. I've served on the legal committee. We rewrote the shul constitution. We came with a constitution from the merger out of the Newark shul, co-chairman of the House committee. When we started this first construction, I came down to site every single morning to watch the contractors to see what was happening, with a very firm belief that if people know they're being observed, even if you don't know what it's all about, but they see somebody watching, you get a better quality job performed. I also learned a lot from my legal practice because I was representing builders of both custom homes and nursing homes. And the two of us have been co-chairs probably, I'm going to say, close to 35 years. We both had an attitude, which we still have to this day, is that the shul is a makom kodesh, a place that deserves respect and should always be kept in tip-top shape. A light bulb burned out, we saw to it that it got replaced immediately. Everything has to be done by committee, everything has to be done by multiple pricing. Now there's some merit to that argument, but on the other side of the equation is you get contractors who know you, and if you need in an emergency, they respond quickly. Marty and I have made the decision to know your contractor, keep the same people,